Hi, we're back and we're talking with martial arts expert John Mirrione from New Jersey, who is traveling the country this year in his Stop the Bullying campaign. And right before we went to break, you were talking about you go and you teach kids that they've got to say stop.
That's right.
And that grabs everyone's attention and involves everyone. Tell me about why that's so effective.
Well, because now everyone's responsible for the situation. You can't see a child being hurt verbally or physically in any way without stopping. Now, if the children stop what they're doing, then it allows the teacher to get involved and correct the situation. And then the child speaking out, they learn that's empowerment. It's self-empowerment when you speak out for yourself. And if you use your words, it's a proactive measure. The schools right now are being very reactive, which is fine. I mean, how many ways can we put fear into the children so, you know, if you hit, this is what's going to happen? That's not going to help them later on when some of them become criminals. But if they're proactive and people learn to stand up for themselves, you don't even have to become reactive.
You want kids to use their voices, not their fists.
They have to use their voices. And you know, it's interesting too, because that's the root of this whole thing. But, you know, I can add to it and say that, you know, then we have to look into why children are out of control and for other reasons, such as, you know, they have to eat healthy and they have to exercise, and, you know, these are other aspects. But the root of standing up for yourself is everything.
Now, we mentioned before that you traveled to a school in Burlington County, and this was a school that you said is sort of a model for what you're trying to do. Talk about why. What did you see there?
The Holbein School was extraordinary, and it was extraordinary in the sense that the whole concept of character development that Governor Whitman had instituted was in place. Then you have this diversity, this mixture of children that did not hang out in cliques. Blacks were not with blacks, and Hispanics were not with, they were just together. And I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, is this really happening? Because I have been all over the country. I've been to 8 cities, 8 major cities. And here I am in New Jersey, and I'm looking at a model of what it should look like. And there was a harmonious connection. They all got along. And I just added to and helped to improve their existing system.
And what makes that school harmonious? What makes it work there?
Well, it starts with their superintendent, and it goes all the way down to the principals, and implementing, not only having these policies in place, but keeping them very active. And they get the children involved in leadership type programs. And they've really focused on being proactive and using things that empower children.
You mentioned the word harmony, and you have Harmony by Karate. That's the name of your program.
That's right.
Talk about the philosophy behind it, or what that means.
Well, the harmony is that it's the deep breathing, it's the meditation, it's the philosophy, it's all the things that make you feel good. It's what martial arts to me is all about. So that brand is, I've had that brand now for about 19 years, and it's, you know, I'm very proud of it. But I said, you know, how do I take this good feeling that I'm teaching my students that are benefiting in Manhattan and bring it to the world? And I said, you know, with the bullying crisis, I had to get involved with that, so I bring some of those aspects. You know, when I go to the schools, we do a little bit of the meditation. We do some of the deep breathing. Just getting them to listen to their breath is powerful. You have a group of children that are very loud, and all of a sudden they're very quiet, and all the teachers are looking over me like, how are they doing this? I think that's important to have that moment where they're quiet and learn how to calm themselves.
Does it work? I mean, I guess we have the impression that, you know, kids are so busy and they're on cell phones and computers and all of that kind of stuff that they really won't pay attention. You can get a classroom full of kids to focus on breathing or to be quiet and, you know, meditate.
Every child, just like every adult, we all want to be happy. So they're willing to listen to whatever tools could be taught to them, as long as it's done in a very simple way. They're on board.
And so that is your school. That's a school that you say is a success. What's it like when you go out to other schools, and what's going on in other schools?
It's, you know, all I got to say is that, you know, I know that for the most part teachers do the best they can, and it's tough to be a teacher, and it's tough to get a system to connect where the leadership in the system works. That's tough. So, you know, I mean, I go to assemblies where, you know, the kids are not in control, and I have to take charge and really try to get them to listen to what I'm doing. or the school doesn't prep up for the assembly. And I know that I'm only one of many assemblies that schools have, but when a school, like in the Holbein School, where they really prepped up and they had everything in place to create an experience for the children, that's what it's all about.
Now, is there a certain age period or age time when you think it's best to bring this anti-bullying message to kids?
You know, if I told you when a child walks, they should learn to speak up. I teach 2-year-olds how to yell stop.
Do you really?
That's right. If they're in the playground and they yell stop, their parents hear it, they can run and stop what's happening rather than wait for one child hit another child and the child falls down and, you know, something bad has happened. So it's critical.
But when you go out to the schools, in elementary school, is there one time that you think is better or one grade
Middle
that's better?
school.
Middle, because?
Because right at that point, they're going to go one way or the other. Either they're going to do great things or they're going to do very bad things. They're hormonal, their bodies are changing. So that's the time to like speak to them and try to steer them in a positive direction.
And what kind of response do you get from kids? I'm sure you can tell when you reach them, and you certainly know when you haven't reached them, but when you reach them, what kind of response do you get?
Usually very honest ones. So
how do you mean?
Well, they'll say what they're feeling. I'll give them like little index cards and they'll write on it. But something as simple as stop, they'll talk about how much that they didn't realize how important it was just to speak up. Or one child said to me, you know, because of this assembly, I'm not going to bully my friend anymore. Suddenly felt bad about it, you know. Or, you know, I had one time I did an assembly and a girl stood up and said, have you ever thought of taking your own life? And I knew right then and there she thought about it herself. And I had to respond to that in a harmonious way and help her to get help for herself. So that's why this is important. People, you know, these kids, they need a human connection. And I'm only a voice of many. There's other people out there that should be doing the same thing that I'm doing their way.
John, you've written a book. Tell me what this is, and is this something that people can read themselves? It's Philosophy of the Week. You have different messages. Tell me about it.
Well, you can get well, first of all, the book is called Harmony by Karate, Philosophy of the Week. And you can get it at barnesandnoble.com. But basically, this is a book that I use for my martial arts school. And it's a book that when they read the philosophies and they read the interpretations of those philosophies, they get their own thoughts about them. And then by the end of the book, they're discovering their own truth. And I feel it's a very powerful tool. And actually, some of the schools have made it part of their school curriculum, such as the Holbein School, and there's one school in Chicago. It's already in the system, and they do the quotes every week, and the kids talk about it, and it gets the children to interact and to think about life.
Well, John, thank you so much for being here and the work you're doing with the Stop the Bullying campaign. You have such a big job to do and so many kids to reach all over the country.
Thank you so much.
Are you exhausted already just thinking about it?
No, it's empowering for me. It's exciting to travel and help children.
All right. Well, thanks again for being here. And when we come back,